Hi, folks. This rant was incoming. Now, this video is over the fact that, from what I heard, OnlyFans is going to ban sexually explicit content on their material, which means they said, oh, we're going to allow nudes, but we're going to ban sexually explicit content. Whatever that fucking means. So, here we go again for sex workers having to deal with more bullshit. And I found out about this news because a friend of mine, who I'll not disclose, he's in the industry, and he told me about it, and he said, "Hey man, did you hear about this news right here?" And I looked, and I'm like, "Here we fucking go again." Um, Again, they're gonna claim it's we're protecting children and exploitation, all that other stuff. The same bullshit. First off, this whole thing began because of the Pornhub thing, and they had issues. I understand that, but again, it was Nicholas fucking Kristoff of all people. I mean, this guy who fucking uh, I mean, you're taking the word of fucking Nicholas Kristoff, the same guy who said the most Orientalist, racist bullshit about East Asian people. I'm not going to talk about that because we know what he said. Now, and we're going to take his word seriously about, protecting sex trafficking victims. Okay. Um, Now there's another thing that I'm having issues with this whole bullshit here. Now, of course, it has to do with the MasterCard rule because it was passed by Exodus Cry, who Exodus Cry is an anti-LGBTQ organization. It is an anti-Semitic organization. They claim that they're protecting children. They basically are on a mission to ban all porn because, you know, reasons. Based on their ridiculous bullshit, hand-waving, pie in the sky interpretation of biblical scripture. Of course, they ignore stories like, I don't know, Solomon having 150 wives. You're telling me all those were his wives? Wink, wink. Pretty sure not. Or, Samson, who had a lover who, she cut his hair. It's highly implied that she wasn't really, you know. So, these people don't even read their fucking Bibles right. But again, um, these people, this is based on their interpretation of biblical scripture, and it's Puritanism, because remember, this is the United States of America. The religious, the Puritans were kicked out of England because even the UK were like, people are fucking nuts, get out of here. um and they've always been extremely anti-sex because they say sex has a ultimate evil temptation, and unfortunately that cultural DNA in the United States has always been there, being anti-sex and all this stuff. It's why we, when it comes to sex education, we teach abstinence. The fuck does that do? Nothing. But that's what we teach because it's this narrative that we have. They're not. You know how long it took for us to actually build up our ways to be like, hey, let's actually do sex education in this country. Um, I'm not going to talk about that, but that's a whole nother conversation. And also, there is the anti-sex stuff. If you want to talk about Puritanism, a lot of it is tied to a lot of patriarchal conceptions about controlling women's bodies. So there's that one. But apart from that, I'm talking about primarily where this bullshit comes from, because this is another attempt by these organizations. And you know what really pisses me off about Exodus Cry? These are the same organizations, these anti-porn organizations. These are the same organizations that I've always asked them, what about labor laws? And they look at you like you have 15 heads, as if they don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you mention labor laws. I find that interesting, and that's how you know these organizations are full of dog shit. They do not give a damn about exploitation in an actual real sense, if you know what I mean. They don't care about labor exploitation. I mean, these same organizations will, in the same breath, preach about the prosperity gospel. And I'm sitting there like, the fuck? And this goes to the point where, you know, these guys are the biggest two-faced fuckers ever. Because I'm not going to attack all Christians about this, because it's not all Christians. It's a particular group of a certain sect of Christianity that has read the Bible in this ass backwards way. Because let me tell you something. The Bible has a lot of erotic shit in it. It's there. So, you know, it's rather fascinating to me. Or they read the story of, it's funny because these are the same religious whack jobs that they will point to Sodom and Gomorrah for anti-LGBTQ stuff and the anti-sex stuff at the same time. While they completely ignore the fact that in the plot, you know what, that's not the point. The point of the matter is, they've done it again. These organizations have decided we're going to ban these platforms, or OnlyFans, who has basically built its whole platform on the back of sex workers, and now they're basically saying, well, guys, fuck you. I mean, okay. It's like, oh, we have to ban all internet porn. All right. I mean, the UK did it. Hasn't been working out for them very well because, you know, there's a thing that exists called fucking proxies. But, you know, the UK has done it. Hasn't really worked out pretty well. You know? Another thing is, since we live in a culture that is so anti-sex, because we do, I mean, the only way to fix this is to not be an anti-sex culture. That's number one. Number two, actually have education on the matter, you know. And also, this goes also to parents too. I mean, we have to, there's a point to have parental controls, which is fine, but there's also goes to a point where you as a parent, you got to start teaching your kids about the ins and outs of certain things. Don't just so many American parents, it's basically we're not going to talk about it. We're going to wait till they're fucking teenagers, like 14 or something like that, to talk about it. And it's just like, no, guys, no. And this is the problem, right? This is the biggest problem. But that's a whole nother conversation for another time in terms of solutions to how we, you know, get past this. But when it comes to this, right, this is all about self-righteous bullshit. And also MasterCard, oh man. And these banks, I mean, it's funny that these banks are doing this because, I mean, not to say these aren't the same banks that gambled through people's fucking mortgages. It led to the financial crisis. But that's a whole nother conversation because that would be me pushing things too far. Right. So, one of my issues with this whole situation is that there are people saying, well, at least it's protecting, you know, it's helping with sex trafficking. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't do anything to the stats. It doesn't change anything. These are just fucking moral self-righteous points of people that think they're doing something. In reality, they're not doing anything. They're going after sex work. Christian evangelicals have even said that's their goal. Because they're trying to basically create another puritanical culture. They're basically new Puritans. That's what I call them. They're new Puritans. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, if they think this is going to work, knock yourself out. I mean, it's hard to ban something that human beings do and engage in our sexual creatures. I mean, it's kind of hard to do, but, you know, good luck. You know, good luck. And what bothers me is that, you know, this is going to hurt sex workers a lot, especially sex workers who are people of color, like my friend. This is definitely going to go. It's going to go after them already, and we already have to do bullshit already with the cops and everything other crap. So I'm wondering if it's just the big channels they're gonna keep, because the big channels are probably gonna give them more money in OnlyFans, so they're probably gonna keep a lot of the big. I feel like they're gonna start making exceptions for the more bigger channels. It's the smaller channels that are gonna be in trouble. Um, I'm sorry, man. This is some. I heard this. This is some straight bullshit. This is dog shit. Straight dog shit. News that I just heard, and my friend of mine, he's just like, you know, we're gonna do what sex workers do. We try to find a way to survive, and I'm like, I'm sad. It sucks, man. And he's like, don't worry about it. We're gonna have to find another way to survive and whatnot. Because we always, sex workers. I give a lot of sex workers credit. They always find a way. You know, um, they should do a model for you guys, basically saying like, when they say nature finds a way, sex workers, y'all find a way, and I really, I commend y'all for that. You guys always find a way. Um, and it sucks. It really fucking sucks. And it pisses me off too that OnlyFans they're just like, oh, we're gonna go off your back, and then when we don't need you anymore, and when we get big, we're just gonna throw you under the bus. I mean, fuck off. Like seriously, like just fuck off. Fuck the company. Fuck these people. Um, they they didn't really give a shit. It was all about profits and money making. And this is the thing about Exodus Cry. They talk about exploitation, but they don't, like, guys. And this is how you. This is another rant about these anti-porn organizations. You know what they do? This is what they do. When it comes to anti-sex work organizations or anti-sex trafficking organizations, they always has a result. Take these women and put them in working in factories. And I'm thinking to myself, and then it got me thinking. It kind of makes sense why Nicholas Kristof is doing this shit. Because Nicholas Kristof, if I remember correctly, he's a really big proponent of globalization. And then it got me thinking, maybe there's something more behind to why Kristof says is doing what he's doing. Maybe he wants these women to work at places like Nike, all these other organizations, in these sweatshops. Because, according to you, Kristof, capitalism is the biggest proponent of the rise, or basically the quote-unquote reducing of global poverty. Right, Kristof? I didn't think about it. Now it makes sense why Kristof is doing what he's doing. Especially when it concerns sex workers in the global south. I know exactly what he's doing. It makes sense to why he's doing it. Because these sex workers, you know what the reality is? This is the reality. This is what they want you to do. This is what these fuckers want. You guys, sex workers, you represent a untamed workforce. You are not within the strata of what would consider normal capitalist flow of money, right? Sex workers, in many ways, represent a almost revolutionary form of freedom in terms of their labor and what they're capable of doing, right? So, to these people, it makes sense to the capitalists why sex work is a threat. It does make sense. If you look at it from that point of view, it does make sense. But that's just me going on a tangent. But now it's starting to make sense to why Kristof is so obsessed about this whole anti-sex work, anti-porn crap that he's been going on, especially in certain liberal circles. It all makes sense because it connects to his philosophy of globalization. It all makes sense, folks. The writing's on the wall. And yeah, hopefully, solidarity to the sex workers. Really, a lot of solidarity for you guys, and we got to support them one way that we can. And this is bullshit. And this is happening October 1st. So, I mean, this is straight bullshit that they're doing this. And a lot of it is due to the MasterCard law. That was the thing that MasterCard started doing with their policy. Um, that's what it comes to. And it doesn't matter that most of this came from Exodus Cry, a religious fundamentalist group. A lot of it came from you guys. And I can't trust these anti-sex work organizations. I can't trust sex trafficking organizations. I'm sorry, I can't. Because a lot of the time, these organizations don't say anything about labor. They don't say anything about labor laws. They talk about exploitation, and then I'm thinking to myself, wait, are we talking about child abuse? Which is I understand, and I get it, and we want to ban. I understand that, but y'all don't have a problem with certain kids in the Congo digging with their bare hands to get really big diamonds, or coltan, for that matter. Y'all don't seem to have an issue with that, because that's the thing. You see these exes, they always do this shit. They're always like, oh, we're here to protect the children. It's all about the children. And then when you look into it, it's like, okay, sex is the greatest evil. I get it. But greed somehow is not. I always wanted to ask this question to some of these organizations. Why is greed, especially Christian fundamentalist groups, why is it that sex is the greatest evil of porn, everything? That's all evil. But greed isn't. Men with wealth that top in the hundreds of billions of dollars, that for some reason is not evil. Greed isn't evil, folks. Greed is a virtue, according to these people. Because they think the greatest sin is when two human beings decide, consensual adults, no matter, but that's a whole nother conversation. And it's like, oh, we're protecting minors. We're protecting minors. And we all agree, but at the same time, I'm like, but you're okay with a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old working 12 hours a day at a fucking Walmart or a McDonald's. You see where I'm getting at here, ladies and gentlemen, or folks out there, non-binary, trans. You see how this is a problem? I've always been puzzled by this very fact, because I don't understand it. But in a way I kind of do. Because Exodus Cry, they're not going to say shit about child exploitation when it comes to labor. They don't care about that. And half the time these orgs, it's like, oh, we're going to help these women out, and then they have you working for fucking Nike. They go to the global south to help women from sex trafficking, and then they have them working at fucking Nike? In factories? Or laptop assembly lines? Right? I mean, seriously, don't insult my intelligence with this shit. I'm getting tired of it. Every time someone comes up and says, we care about the children, we care about the children, I'm going to look at you in the side eye and say, do you really care about kids? Because I don't think that's what it is about, right? And they keep saying, oh, we care about kids. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You care about specific children, but not really all kids. Because children in the global south can just fuck all. It doesn't matter. It's like, oh, we care about women's rights too, but you have them working at fucking Nike sweatshops. Give me a break.